Go.
So we're at Eagle Learning in Zimbabwe near Bulawayo, and Jason is going to explain this school in a box.
Okay, so this is actually one of the prototypes for Eagle Learning. And so here you have your solar, here you have your inverter. So basically, at the end of the day, what you're trying to get is this. You're just trying to get power somehow across over to it. And they have battery storage going as well on that. This is a prototype, but we actually got a much larger version of this that will hold 30 tablets in it, that wirelessly charge and have, but all the guts that are in this are also in the other one that's been designed, that's designed more for mass production and stuff. But the brains of it is this right here. It's an Intel NUC. It's basically a server with a very, very large solid state drive in it that basically serves the content. So all the education content for kindergarten through 12.
So how much memory is on there?
I don't remember. It's a lot. Well, there's memory, but the real it's a massive solid state drive that's sitting inside of it. That's like a terabyte or something, because you've got all of the video content for K through 12 for Zimbabwe sitting on that NUC, right? Or maybe we don't have to have high school here. This is only a high school.
This is high school. Yeah.
But it could, theoretically, it could have all the way from K through 12 here. But because this is only really done for high school right here at this location, they're only using that part of it. The idea is that they come and they learn here. Essentially, they take all their quizzes, they take all their tests. All of that is stored on the local drive. And if we were wirelessly connected, then all we got to do internet-wise is update content. So if content changes, content gets refreshed, and if all the grades go up into the cloud, so all their official scores and everything goes in. So this is fully Zim curriculum. So someone can get a full education under a tree, plastic chairs around here with their tablets with a mentor. So this is not like sitting there out here all by themselves.
So just under the mulberry tree.
Under the mulberry tree. And so this I mean, to me, I get excited about this because my kids went to a classical Christian school. And so one of the things that we've kind of lost over time, and Dorothy Sayers, Lost Tools of Learning, amazing, like 5-page booklet that I'd encourage anyone to read. But it talks about how she was one of the Inklings. I don't know if you know her story, the Inklings. No. So C.S. Lewis, Tolkien, Dorothy Sayers, they all got together at the pub every day and they all kind of talked. The group was called the Inklings, and they all had their own pet projects. Well, she was passionate about education and transforming education. And so she wrote this pamphlet, Lost Tools of Learning, and basically it goes back to the Greeks. The Greeks learned to teach through the trivium, grammar, logic, and rhetoric. Every subject goes through that. And it's important because at life stages of the development of a child, the way they learn is different. So when they're first born, they're just a sponge. They're absorbing language and sights and everything. They're just learning as a sponge. And then you can kind of see when the next stage happens, which is a logic stage, which they start asking why. Why is the sky blue? Why? Why? If you're as a parent, you're like, because, you get tired of answering why all the time. But you can tell that in your kids' development is they start asking whys. And then they hit this other stage, which is, I'm smarter than you, Dad. It's like, I got my own ideas now, and and so that's the rhetoric stage of development. And so you teach that way. So technology is not going to solve that. That's through interaction. And so that they didn't have technology back in the Greeks. They sit down on the steps. They'd sit down under a tree and they would learn with a tutor, interactively like that. And we've lost that part of it. So I think what's really cool here is we can take the technology, which has all the curriculum and all the official stuff that they need to learn, but then do it in a classical setting again, which is, I think, you don't need a school building. It's great to have a school building because it could be raining right now in the middle of this, and you really wouldn't pull all this technology out in the middle of rain stuff. So you'd lose that. But if there was a building and you decide to do it at a church, then great. But you don't have to. And what's the number? How many million right now? The staggering number, the number.
350 million kids that are not in school.
In Africa, 350 million children in Africa.
So who put this school in a box together? Like, where do you purchase this from? Did you put it together?
We hodgepodge put this together for now. Yeah.
Well, so how many of these do you have deployed right now?
The number.
So there's probably 6 boxes like this.
Okay.
But then there's also learning groups where it's just the nook.
Yeah.
And then kids are bringing their own cell phones or things like that.
And the
to
Nook
learn.
is not here, right?
this
The
part.
NUC.
Oh, that's the
yeah.
Nook.
So,
Okay,
so it's
that's
where
the
you've
Nook.
just got the guts where the learning,
You
You
the
just
content
got the
is.
server
The server
and a
and
Wi-Fi hub
Yeah.
at a location because they'll find the tab, which is why I think it's really, I think the next stage of growth is that we can build what we're going to call an eagle's egg.
Yeah.
Instead of it being an eagle's nest. An eagle's egg is just going to have the Nook and the Wi-Fi and all that stuff, and all it needs to run itself, okay, which is not a lot of power either. And people will bring in their own devices, and we can get donated phones and tablets in the States for free. They'll get those donated, you know, because they can be old. And we won't even test them or anything else. We will literally just package and put them all together. We'll ship them for about, I think, 30 cents a device. We can get them all the way over here. Now, if we get it shipped by a boat, it's like 5 or 6 cents. We'll ship them over here. Some of them might not work. Okay, we spent 30 cents getting it here. Most of them will work, I hope, because someone in the States took the time to put it in a box and donate it. And we'll add local chargers, you know, to them, local, and then we'll sell them. We hope for like $1 or $2, you know, and that way we're out no money, and there's no reason in the world why someone even in Africa can find, they'll sell a goat, and the whole family can have a tablet, you know, all the kids, whatever it takes, and they can then go to school with the technology they need. We just need to fund the Eagle's Nest. And public school's not free in Africa. It costs something.
Yeah.
It's
So
not a lot.
the current high school fees are $50 US a month at the local high school here. $50 US a term. So it'll be $150 US for the year. The current fees.
Which is $10 a month.
Yeah, just over 12.
Yeah, so we could argue that because they need education that we could do it at $10 a month. We're not. When we do an Eagle's Nest, the goal would be that they would pay for the Eagle's Nest in maybe a year or two, which is $400 divided. I mean, you can do the math real quickly on that. That's $1 maybe, you know, per student to come and do that. We want to supplement also the mentors that are here because they're doing this all day long, and so they're foregoing, you know, raising chickens or doing something else to support their family. So we can basically add maybe another $1 or $2 on top of that, and the mentors paid, the technology's paid off. We don't have to fundraise for 350 million kids to build schools and do all the rest of it. Through the parents themselves will pay for the education across Africa. If we do it that way. That's why I think this is the quickest way to go out and roll out. And so that's why I think the egg and getting people in Europe and America, just around the world, just donate their phones, old phones that would otherwise not have a value in the States, but someone can use it to learn off of. Is the next solution. I don't know if that's the solution 5-10 years down the road, but we can do a whole lot. The Zim curriculum is English based, so there's really it's not hard to move it to the next country because it's.
And I think what's exciting for me with the Eagle stuff is the mentor. And I think, because I think a lot of learning for me takes place with interaction. So the mentors for me play a really key role, and we want to make sure that we're training our mentors really well. And I think that's one of the reasons why we need to help the mentors think of it. We're here to serve, but we're also going to make a living out of it. And there's a little bit of leeway for the mentor to work out how much of a living they're going to make. So for example, if we gave a mentor this kit and it had 30 tablets in it, they could happily run. So most of the learning groups will probably run for 3 hours. If they're running really well, kids are learning intensely. If they learn for 3 hours a day, it's amazing what you can learn. And so if you had 3 3-hour slots and you had 30 kids, that's 90 kids. If you do 2, that's 60 kids. So if you have 60 students coming through every day, and that's the mentor's full-time job, is just mentoring these kids, helping them. We worked out that if we can play with the numbers, but let's say a student pays $5 a month. So that would be $60 a year as opposed to $150 at school. From that $5, we would take $2 towards the hardware. We'll take $1 towards Eagle continued software and content development and running. And then $2 goes to the mentor. So if a mentor's got 60 kids times 2, that's $120 a month. While they're still paying off the hardware. Once the hardware is paid off, they've got $240 a month, which is a very decent living in this area. So that's kind of the model that we're looking at, that it's they can really make a living. They're there to serve and to care, but they can actually make a living out of it as well.
We'll have education content for the mentors too, to help them engage with the kids and to, you know, how to integrate subjects across them. So that's another thing about classical education is you're not siloing the subjects either. So, I mean, I use this as an example. So you don't have to wait till you're in high school and taking physics to learn the definition of slope. This is a slope. It's steeper, it's less steeper because you rise this far and you run this far, as an example. That's something that a kid can quickly understand, and especially when they're really young and they're a sponge, they can memorize so easily. You've taught a physics concept that they'll use 10 years later, and because you've captured it in the grammar stage. So you do the grammar of everything. So what we do in a classical Christian school is we go through twice all of history, because we want to capture at the very beginning of their stage their ability to memorize. Yeah. And later we'll discuss history, you know, and we'll understand how these world events interacted and things like that. But capture that early stage where their vast memory of things and stuff is. So, yeah. So, but to teach the mentor, this is the way they, because the official Zim curriculum is not going to say this is what you should do. But if they think that way and they're capturing those moments with their kids, those kids are on turbocharge.
And the other fun thing that I'd love to do, which we're starting in Tabazinduna, I went out there to a learning group. So there's probably about 20 kids that meet. It's under a shelter. If you can imagine, this had some tin roof, so they meet under a shelter like that. And so I went out to see them, and I was asking, what's your favorite subject? So the one girl said, business studies. So I was like, excellent, what business are you starting? Anyway, so we had such a nice chat. So the learning group out there is actually going to start a small poultry business as a learning group. So we said, look, we'll put the initial like chicks and feed in for 50 or 100, and then from that they need to make it work and get them started. And then actually they start to earn their own little, like, I just think there's so much learning. They're learning how to work in team, they're learning business, they're learning farming, there's just so much learning happening, completely separate from what's on the tablets, but just in that experience as a learning group. And what I would love is for them to be able to then put some of that money towards actually traveling to a different part of the country, going on a camp that gives them exposure to a wider experience, different people, because I think that's amazing. So again, I think there's a lot we can do with learning groups aside from the tablets, which kids will just learn a huge amount from, and so it'll be so exciting, and that can make it a little bit more self-sustaining financially.